people. First thing is to say that we think there needs to be an end to the class bias that exists within the judiciary. That is a deep-rooted thing that won't be resolved by this bill. This bill will make a very small inroad into the more blatant elements of political appointments in terms of the judiciary, but that's only a very, very small part of it. I would make the point that I saw commented somewhere as proof that this bill won't, isn't necessary, that political appointees aren't a problem in the judiciary. I saw the point being made that, well, they analysed the difference in judgments between Fianna Fail appointed judges and connected judges and Fine Gael appointed and connected judges, and they didn't find any difference in the judgments. And I have to say, I thought that was, very dramatically missing the point. The point is not that Fianna Fail and Fine Gael don't disagree with each other, because they don't generally disagree with each other on substantial points, even here. The point is that political parties, and establishment political parties in particular, are vastly overrepresented amongst the judiciary. There was a study in 2011 which saw, I think, 1 in 3 of those judges surveyed as having direct or indirect connections to political parties, which is obviously wildly out of step with the rest of society. I wanted to make particular reference to the contribution of Deputy Dara O'Brien, who said, quote, "The recent Jobstown trial in one of our courts, which I am allowed to comment on, was presided over by a judge. This is relevant to the Judicial Appointments Commission Bill 2017. During that trial, members of Solidarity, People Before Profit, said publicly and in meetings held across the country, and in particular in Dublin, that they believed the jury selection was unfair, unconstitutional and illegal. They questioned the independence and relevance of the jury. They held public meetings all over the city, and big posters were put up throughout Dublin to say it was an unfair jury selection. They said it was going to be a big divvy-up, and that there was a conspiracy in our courts and our judicial system that was stacked against them. That is a very serious charge for members of the Dáil, but that is what they said. What happened when the jury of their peers acquitted them of all the charges before them? It was all forgotten. The jury was absolutely grand and fine." Quite an incredible and incredibly ignorant contribution from Deputy O'Brien. It gets worse, unfortunately, and I'll go on, but I'll just deal firstly with the points that he raised there. That the most basic initial research would have led him not to say what he said, because it's not based on fact. The reality is that, yes, the Jobstown Not Guilty campaign campaigned against an attempt which was originally put forward in a proposal by the prosecution to stack the jury against us. That would have included excluding people from the Jobstown Tala area, excluding people who are active in any campaigning groups either for or against water charges, excluding people who had expressed themselves in public or on social media on issues concerning water charges.
Deputy,
that was the proposal.
Sure. As you always know, I don't like to interrupt people, but really your contribution has nothing to do with the bill that's discussed.
It's responding to a party colleague of yourself in this debate, which I quoted, and I'm going to
I understand that Deputy O'Brien apologised for what was said.
No, he didn't apologise for any of that.
Well, I am going to insist that you stick with...
Sure.
If you just respect the chair. Sorry, Deputy Barry, I'm dealing with Deputy Murphy. Try and stick to the agenda.
So I think this is extremely relevant, because we're talking about political nature, the political appointed nature of the judiciary, the need to move away from that, and the jury system becomes extremely important in that context. The point, he was making the point that we were complaining about the way the jury is being stacked against us, and then when the jury didn't go against us, we all of a sudden had no problem. But the point is that the attempt to stack the jury failed. There was a campaign publicly, which in my opinion was necessary. It was in advance of any jury or juror being impanelled in the case, and the judge rejected those proposals, and therefore there was a different jury than was proposed from the prosecution. There was a jury of our peers, and that jury of our peers obviously did find us not guilty, but it was an utterly ignorant contribution from Deputy O'Brien, and it proved what happened in the case, proved the importance of us campaigning on that issue to ensure that we didn't have a jury that was stacked against us. The other point I'll make, just to quote from a speech made in this debate from, again, Deputy O'Brien, He said that they campaigned, and many would say intimidated, the members of the jury by sending out live tweets during that court case. He then, as the Cathaoirleach has recognised, he withdrew the remark, but only in relation to intimidation. He went on to say, you know, the questions and campaigns by members of Solidarity PPP against the jury selection that happened, you cannot dispute that. Absolutely incredible to attempt to say explicitly, first of all, that jurors were intimidated by tweets being sent. A robust jury system, a jury system that saw the evidence in front of their eyes for 10 weeks, 9 weeks of actual trial, that saw the evidence of guard after guard being contradicted by video evidence, to say that they were intimidated by tweets being sent out is absolutely incredible.
I want to be respectful to every deputy. Sure. We are discussing the Judicial Appointments Commission Bill. We're not discussing that court case. The court decided, and the jury decided in favour of you, so I would really urge you to move on to deal with the Judicial Appointments Commission Bill.
Sure, but the problem is that, again, and I'm not impugning your impartiality here, but a party it so happens the party colleague of yours engaged in this debate. And I have a right, surely, in the same debate to respond to those points.
But I'm not going to accept a running commentary on a case that's done and dusted and came out in your favour.
But the issue is...
Sorry, Deputy Barry, I'm not speaking to you.
Exactly. There's been a consistent attempt to rerun this case, to say that the jury was somehow intimidated because of tweets being said. It's absolutely nonsense. And the people need to accept that they didn't get the result perhaps that they would have liked. They didn't manage to criminalise protest because a jury saw through what was happening. It's of a piece with what is happening in terms of the attempts to rerun the case, to say people were terrorised in the event of what Leo Varadkar said.
Deputy,
so I've made the point. I'll sit down. But I thought what happened in this debate was quite outrageous.
It is you that's rerun the case in your contribution.
Replying to the
Deputy Barry, could you stay out of this, please? I'm talking to Deputy Murphy.
That's right. He's replying to the deputy who tried to rerun the case, and he's defending
Deputy Barry, could I ask you to respect the chair, please? I understand, I wasn't here, that Deputy O'Brien apologised for some of the comments he made this morning, and I've allowed you to make a certain contribution. It seems to me what you are doing is virtually rerunning the case.
No, I don't need to rerun the case, because the case was found in favour. I'm finished with my contribution anyway, but I wanted to make the point.
I dislike interrupting people, but please try and stick to judicial appointments.
I'm finished with my contribution. The point is registered. It was a disgraceful contribution, and it was an attempt to rerun the case because they don't like the result. Thanks.
Okay. I think it's